to adapt to the elements that in Australia are rather wild, unpredictable, unruly, and at times catastrophic, requires an acceptance of suffering. And that's not something that our egos like. Our egos like to triumph over suffering. I mean, a lot of us go to great lengths to protect ourselves from suffering. And in Australia, that often means protecting ourselves from the elements that cause so much suffering. See, we came here with a European mind, that is a controlling mind. How can we control nature? How can we make it work for us? How can we make a profit from the land, from farming, from industry, from mining? All these, you might say, are from the heroic point of view. Australia, however, doesn't work that way. It's not a heroic country. It's a country where nature is the key player. It's not just the background of human affairs. It's in the foreground, and it's going to stay like that. I mean, so much of Australia you can't cultivate. You can't turn it into farms and gardens and houses and real estate. A large part of Australia is beyond that, and so we have to develop, if you like, a spirituality, a way of living with the land that acknowledges the land as the primal entity. It's not just the background to our human lives, it's actually in the foreground.
I mean, I can't help but think of her when you're here. It's just, it's devastating what's happened. The interesting thing was, though, that they were obviously of roadkill, but they were still, you had to look for the roadkill in the painting.
Yes.
I mean, you could have looked at that painting and thought, gee, that's a beautiful painting. Look.
That's right.
Beautiful colour. Well, she said to me that she wasn't happy with, I think she didn't sell anything at the opening. Or
No.
They'd been there for a while, and maybe it was about a couple of months beforehand she decided to take them. I have to respect Angela for that, though, that she never compromised on.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a subject matter and she just kept going with it and didn't care if it sold or not. And they were beautiful paintings.
They were beautiful paintings.
Yeah. Which is a contrast to the subject. I mean, it's crazy, really.
Her paintings were very much about the sort of human interaction with everything around us, every living thing, the trees, and the animals, and but also the earth itself. And that's why she diffused a lot of her colours, I thought.
Yes, yeah.
And blended them into trees and soil and so forth.
He directed one of my plays. That was called The Bridal Suite, and that was at La Mama in 1979. He worked for 6 weeks on that rehearsal. That's the only time that he directed one of my plays. But the opening night audience didn't know where they were. It wasn't a financial thing, it's the atmosphere that he had. And it ends with her not knowing whether she's going to leave that hut or not. There's a thunderstorm, which on opening night there really was. There was a thunderstorm at La Mama. It was so oppressively hot, that Easter weather. And then the rain beat down on the tin roof of La Mama, and the audience are all sighing from the rain. And then the doors blew open at La Mama, the double doors. And you got fanned by all that cool wind and the bridal veil fluttering like that, like a mad bird. And you don't know whether she's going to leave the hut or stay there. And Reg's dragged that out with her fiddling with her gloves, whether she's going to take them off or leave them on. And he just kept that tension, the light pulled right into the gloves. And the audience are thinking, come on, leave this awful place. Maybe you should stay, maybe you should leave.
It's an interesting point about staying or leaving.
I know. But the irony isn't lost on me. Sometimes you're writing about things 30 years before they happen.
A wee little thing, and we used to rock you here in the cradle. You know, this villain may take our house, but he'll never take our cradle.